love to get started with you guys today. So happy to be here. I have lived in the region for 10 and a half years, and believe it or not, this is my very first trip to Riyadh. So I want to thank you all so very much for the extremely warm introduction to Riyadh. I've had such a beautiful trip so far, and I'm really excited to share this content with you today. One thing I want to mention before we get started is that the content will be much more beneficial if we make this a very interactive session. So I look forward to us working together. We're going to be doing a lot of group work, and we're going to be practicing the things that we learn. We're going to be talking about a couple different things that, for me, are relevant throughout your life. Unfortunately, because this sort of reveals my age, I have about 20 years of experience now, and the topics we discuss today are still relevant to me. So these are things that you will need from the time you graduate from university until the time you retire and beyond. So let's get started with this. I'll start by sharing a little bit of my background. Dr. Hussein did such a marvelous idea with this already, but let me, marvelous job already, but let me give you a little bit of a background on who I am and why I'm here. So I'm here today in my capacity as a full bridge coach, which is a terrific opportunity. Full Bridge is a company that works on the transition from university, so from academic life, into the professional world. So that is a really fun thing for me to focus on, because we mentioned earlier that I am also a university professor. So I have a lot of experience with people who are going to be preparing to graduate soon and who are making that transition into the workplace. In addition to that, I have my own consultancy in Bahrain that's GCC based, and it's focused on human capital development. And I have about 15 years of experience in the banking industry in different fields. So everything from marketing to business development to human resources to equity derivatives. So let's carry on now and talk about what we're going to accomplish today. The first thing we're going to do, the first objective we have, is to consider what your dream job would be. And I think any of us in the room can come up with a dream job if we think about it for a little while. If we could do anything on earth, what would that dream job be? Okay? So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. And we're going to think about how you would present yourself to capture that dream job. Secondly, we're going to go through something called a personal pitch. So we're going to talk about what that means and the steps we need to take to do that, and how we're going to use that as we set ourselves off in the world on a daily basis, and how that's going to help us move forward professionally. The third thing we're going to do is we are going to prepare and practice and reflect on an interview experience. Interviews are challenging for everyone, and the best way we can get better at interviewing is to practice until we are able to do it the way we want to do it. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that in small groups today, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. As I mentioned, we're going to focus on your favorite job. So I want all of you to take out a sheet of paper. Does everyone have paper on their table, something they can write on? Yeah? And I would like you to jot down, my favorite job was, name that job, and also, my dream job is. Okay? Take a moment to do that, and I'm going to ask some of you to share. So please, great. I have someone who's willing to share. Thank you. Everyone finished? Yeah? Okay, great. I have a kind volunteer here who's going to go first.
My favorite job was interpreter in a hospital, National Guard Hospital. Now I'm an English teacher, and also it's my dream job. I'm proud of that.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else? Anyone?
My favorite job was to be a journalist, and my dream job is to be a coach live.
Wonderful. That's very much related to what we're doing here, so I hope it's quite useful to you today. Anyone else who would like to share before we move forward? Wonderful.
My favorite job was as a fine arts supervisor, but my dream job exactly to be as a project management professional. So to guide it, fine arts as a professional guide.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, what I would like you to do is to keep that dream job in your mind today as we go through these exercises, okay? So we're going to use this as we learn to present ourselves. We're going to have that job in mind in order to position correctly to accomplish that goal. So let's get started with the personal pitch. Is anyone familiar with the concept of the personal pitch? Has anyone heard this term before? In a way, it is your personal touch in a way. It's telling the world about you. And it's finding a way to do that in a really succinct way that makes an impact. So you have a short amount of time with someone, and you're trying to tell them about you. So a quick, succinct summary of your professional self. It is not a recitation of your resume. So you are not going through that 1 or 2 pages of everything you've done and reading off all the jobs you've held and all the education you've gone through. You're not doing that. You are giving a very quick summary. In addition, you want to talk about your interests. So you want to give it your own flavor. You want beyond just the dry stuff where you're saying what you do, you want to say, why do you do it? And you also want to show passion in that pitch, right? Now, it's often called the elevator pitch. Why do you think it's called an elevator pitch? It's called an elevator pitch because you want to be able to get it out in the amount of time it takes you to ride the elevator with someone. And I have a story about this. When I first started my career, I was working in a city called Baltimore in the US for a company called Legg Mason. And there were a few thousand employees, and we were in a really large building. Do you want me to swap? No. We were in a really large building, and there were 35 floors, which meant that any time you traveled in the building, you were in the elevator with someone. When you went up to your office in the morning, when you went down for lunch, when you went out for coffee, when you left at night, and you never knew who you would be in that elevator with, right? Some days it was the director of marketing. Some days it was the director of finance. Some days it was the CEO. And you wanted to know what to say to that person. So that's why it's called an elevator pitch. And I was fortunate. I learned very early in my career that you had to be able to do that on the spot because I was thrown into that situation. But this is something we can cultivate because an elevator pitch doesn't have to happen in the elevator, right? An elevator pitch can happen anywhere. It can happen standing in a lobby. It can happen when you go to get your coffee at Starbucks. It can happen wherever you are. It can happen when you're actually going for a job interview and you bump into someone in that building. So let's keep that in mind. Absolutely. You're taking any chance. You're thinking on your feet. Absolutely. Absolutely. How you relate it to others. So it needs to be interesting. It needs to grab their attention. And most importantly, it needs to be memorable. You want them to walk away from that situation and remember who you are and be thinking about you in a positive way. Okay, so let's talk about how to craft a personal pitch. There are a few steps involved in this. The first thing is to define your target audience. So you want to think about who you're talking to and what they might want to hear about you. So you need to frame it appropriately depending on this audience. You need to very succinctly sum up your experiences and your interests. And you need to describe your future career goals. What do you want to do next? Think of something exciting. Think of something that they would want to know and maybe something they would want to be involved in. Okay? And again, it has to be compelling. It has to be something that they will take and they will walk away with and remember. So I'm going to give you an example. This is my personal example. And again, we're back to the 35-story building with the elevator. And this is a scenario that could happen. And I'm going to present this to you in 3 stages. And the reason I'm going to do that is you can't just walk into a situation and just start talking about yourself. You need to find a way to frame it, right? You need to set it up first. So this is the setup. I get on the lift, and there's Mr. Ahmed. Hello, Mr. Ahmed. I don't think we've had the opportunity to meet before. I'm Kimberly Shariff. Ahmed says, hello, Kimberly. It's nice to meet you. What do you do? This is my opening. This is my chance to start talking about myself. Okay? Then I have the chance to give a quick little speech about myself. This is the elevator pitch. Now listen, this one, I've timed it, is 30 seconds. Okay? You don't want it to be longer than 60 seconds. Because who's going to be on an elevator for longer than 60 seconds? You need to get it out. So here's mine. I'm a coach for Fullbridge, an international educational consultancy through which I have the opportunity to help young professionals prepare for a seamless transition to and success in the workplace. This is a really exciting opportunity for me as it brings together many things I have worked on throughout my career. And then I go into the 15 years in the different areas, and I finish it with, I have a passion for helping companies and professionals establish long-term rewarding partnerships. So this brings the passion into it. This brings the excitement into it. This is what I want them to walk away with. So then what do? We've put the information out there, but just like we needed to open it, we need to close it. We need an action step, right? So Ahmed says, that's very interesting, Kimberly. And I say, thank you. I would be very pleased to share my business card with you. Or could I connect with you on LinkedIn? How can we stay in touch in case you want to discuss this topic further, perhaps within your HR department? Elevator dings, we have to get off. We say goodbye, have a great day, and I've made a new contact that may help me professionally. Does that make sense? Great. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to you. So this is what we're going to do. I need each of you to give your personal pitch to 3 others right now. I want you to take out your phones. I want you to time yourself. It cannot be longer than 60 seconds, okay? Anywhere between 30 and 60 seconds. I need you to remember to set it up. You know, you have to make this relevant. You have to say hello first. You have to break that ice. And you have to close it. There has to be a call to action at the end. There has to be something that you're doing. You have to pass along your contact information. Then we're going to share our feedback with the group. I'd love to have some volunteers to do that. And I want you to take that pitch that you just gave, and what I want you to do is what I do, is to store it in the notes section on your phone. And the reason I do that is because before I go to any conference, to any big meeting, before I go to any professional events, I read that elevator pitch every single time. And I might modify it, but I want to know what I'm going to say. And I don't want to say it in a stiff way like it's a script, but I want to have something to start with. So I want you to do that as well. I want you to store it, write it down, keep it in your phone, and use it. Okay. So, can you get into groups, please? You're going to give your pitch to 3 others. So you can be in groups of 4. 3 if it works better. And we'll take about 10 minutes to do this. So how's it going, everyone? We almost ready to try it out? Now, I've heard about a couple challenges. The main challenges I've heard so far are that it's very difficult to make it short and succinct. Did you guys find that? Is it hard to really cut it down, take it from being a resume into being an elevator pitch? Is that challenging? What I suggest is you write it all out, and then you just cross things off. Cross things off that you think you can eliminate. Well, I'm going to tell you something that's going to give you a bit more work. You need multiple versions. Okay, so you need your education version, and then you need your more corporate version, for instance. If you were talking to someone from a nonprofit, you would need a slightly different version. So you just want to, have different iterations. And when I said you cut out some details, maybe for someone else you would leave those details and cut different things.
That's why you said we modify it every time you went.
Absolutely. Modify it. Think about where you're going. Think about what you're doing on that given day, who you might run into. You might not see those people, but it's still good to practice, just in case. Okay? So who is willing to come up as a team of 3 and practice for us? Anyone? Is anyone ready to practice? Is anyone willing to do it? Fantastic. We have some volunteers here. Okay, here we go.
She's a mild reader, and also she had 2 kids. She's academic student in a university and quality assurance in King Saud University. Okay. Your passions? Your passions to be? For myself? Talking about myself also?
Yeah. Okay, so you see her in the elevator.
Yes.
Okay.
So what would you say to me?
I said because I'm proud to meet you. So you are
No, about
inspiring me
yourself.
about myself. Okay.
Everyone listen, what she's doing now
Yes.
is she's setting up the situation. So let's listen to this first.
Yes. I like creativity because creativity is passionate and inspiring me in all my life, and also I'm a good chef. And I like to be a positive person for energetic anyone here. And also I transfer my positivity to others.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And how would you close it?
Cause it, I'm active one, an A plus in everything.
How would you close it so that you have a way to stay in touch?
Yes. So anything you called about creativity, just calling me anytime. This will be in closer to each other here.
Okay, and are you going to give her a business card?
Yeah, sure.
Or the email, maybe.
Yes, email. Yes.
Perfect.
Or Snapchat.
Wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks.
I imagine that she is a dean in the educational faculty in a university. Okay, so I started greeting her at the elevator. Then after that, I present myself for her. Hi, my name is, or hello, my name is Hanadian Faraj, and I am a coach and a professional development trainer in the MYE. Then she is going to greet me also, and she will ask me, what do you do? So I said, I am a professional development trainer in the MYE. I worked in this position for 16 years, and I had a PhD in education. So after that, I will say, I would love to join the educational staff in your university, and I wish to meet you a long time ago. Yeah, then after that, she is going to reply for me. Then I am going to give her my business card. And if you are interested or if you want to contact with me, you can use my business card or you can have the information in my business card.
Perfect. Those were fantastic examples of using the elevator pitch. Before we move on, would anyone else like to try? Do you think you have the hang of it? Yeah? Oh, we have another volunteer.
We met here in the conference, okay? I'll say the dialogue. Me, Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Miss Sir? Him, thank you. Fine. I am glad to see you and meet you. Me, I am Ibrahim Al-Ajloni. I am working at Al Rayyan College. How about you? Thank you. I am Mr. Mahmoud. I am the Dean of College X. Have you been here since a long time? Actually, I am here in the KSA since 2002. I worked in different higher institutions, college and university, like Bishatek and Al Yamama College, King Saud University, Islamic University, and now I am in Al Rayyan College as the manager of assessment and academic accreditation, and wish to have a chance to be a head of higher education institution.
Okay, fantastic. Now, did you hand over your card or your LinkedIn details? You did. Okay, fantastic. Really appreciate all of you contributing. Now, what we're going to do, this is a very smooth transition. Let's imagine that that elevator pitch leads to an interview. Several of you in the audience have asked me about interviewing, and some of you have said you really don't like interviewing. Well, you know what? I don't like interviewing either. No one in the world likes interviewing. So what we need to do is develop the skills to present ourselves in a way that we really make an impression. So we need to prepare ourselves as well as possible. Because although it's an uncomfortable situation, the only way we're going to get better is if we practice. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to practice. Now, we're going to get into groups of 3. We're going to have 3 rounds, and we're going to have 4 stages. Okay? We're going to act it out. We're going to observe each other. We're going to reflect on the experience. So we're going to think about how it went. And then at the end, we're going to experiment. So we're going to see what did go well and what didn't go so well, and we're going to mix it up and we're going to try it again. And then finally, we're going to share our feedback like we just did with the larger group and tell the others how it went. So the first step is to create your questions. Someone in the audience has already been speaking with me about this, about creating the questions that are most used in your field, which I think for many of you is the education field. So try to think of the questions that you are most likely to be asked, okay? Write those down. And these are the questions you would be asked in an interview for that dream job. Remember, we wrote down that dream job at the beginning. So let's go back to that and think about the questions you might be asked. So, come up with 3, 4 questions that you think are very relevant to that job. And this is going to be really good practice for an eventual real-life interview. I want you to take turns in each of the roles. Remember, we said that there's going to be, where do we go? 1 HR manager, 1 candidate, and 1 observer in every scenario, okay? So I want each of you to play the candidate once, to play the HR manager once, and to play the observer once. I want you to also build in some time to reflect. So after you go through the process, I want you to evaluate yourselves, and I want you to be honest with yourselves. I want you to really think about how you performed, because this is a safe environment. This isn't the real interview. It doesn't matter if you fail. This is the time to practice and correct and improve, so you're ready for that big day. And then I want you to try it again. Come up with some different questions. Try answering them a different way. See what it was that you think didn't go so well the first time and try to improve upon it. And when you do that, see if you feel more confident. Because that's one of the most important things, right? That's going to help your success in an interview, your confidence. And you're really going to portray that to the person you're meeting with. Okay, so let's get started. 3 per table, which is perfect. Let's put together an interview. Remember, come up with 3 to 4 questions. You each need to play one of the roles, every single role, once. HR manager, candidate, and observer. We'll take about 10 to 15 minutes on that, and then I would love to hear your feedback on how it went. Okay? I'll walk around in case anyone needs some help. Okay, we're going to need to move along now. Can I ask a few of the teams to give their feedback on how it went? What your experience was like?
So I'm just going to give my feedback about the HR manager. She gave really straightforward questions. She was so specific. She already knew what she wanted me to say. Like she didn't ask very general questions. So this helped me to also know what to answer. So this is what I gave her as a feedback because I was the candidate. So she was the HR manager. She did really great job in. For sure. So I was like a lecturer, which is I'm applying for a job in her university. So she asked different questions. One of them, which I really liked, that she asked me why you are applying. You are already like you have a job in another college. So why you're applying to our college? So I answered with a question with an answer that showed her that I already have background information about her courses, and that her college is going to give me like a better chance. Okay, so this is what we said. And the other question that I also liked, she asked me about my passion toward English as a language and why I chose to be an educator. Also, which gave me a space to show my passion toward this job. So this was my feedback toward her questions. I think she can tell you her feedback regarding my answers. Okay, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you for that.
Hello. So, to be honest, she was ready for all of the questions, even though when I tried to make her kind of scared about one of the questions, she actually responds in a very positive way about it. I asked her about her approach as an educator, and she said, "Well, can I say what I don't like?" So I told her, "No, you have to stick with the question." And in one way or another, she answered it, even though she was shocked about it. She wasn't really ready, but she answered in a very positive way.
Excellent. There are a couple of things I heard here which are really important. One is the candidate wasn't rattled. The candidate didn't get nervous when asked tough questions. And that's really important because sometimes that is tested in an interview. And if you can stay calm, and importantly, one thing you mentioned is she stayed positive, and she had a positive attitude about the situation, that really changes things. That can turn things around, even if it's a really tough interview. The other thing I noticed that is excellent is when you were asked, why do you want this job when you already have a job? That's a tricky one, right? What you did was perfect. You tied it to the opportunity at the new institution. Okay, you want to tell them why you want to work there specifically. Not just anywhere at any institution, but at that particular institution, what that program is that you're interested in, and what that job is that you want, and why you want to be there, and why you can contribute. Okay, so you need to tie it directly to those things, rather just saying in general, I just want to leave my old job and I want a new one. This is very important, and that's great that you did that. So congratulations, really good job done. Anyone else who wants to share before we move on to some general tips for interviews? Okay, since we are a little tight on time, let me just get to those. Thank you all for doing that exercise, and I hope you found it useful. And I hope you liked the opportunity to test your skills in that area and to try some different things and to experiment. No, we're going to, not khalas yet, just a couple quick things. Really quick things. Let's talk about preparing for interviews. Super quickly. One important thing you need to do, you need to research the institution, the organization, or the company that you're going out to see, okay? This is essential. Again, you're not just looking for any job. You're looking for a job at that company, okay? So you need to know all about it. Know it inside and out. Okay, the second thing you should do, ask around. Maybe some of your instructors, maybe some of your colleagues, maybe some of your friends and family have some experience with that company. Try to get some real information about what's happening there. Okay, something relevant. Other thing is, look at the news. Figure out if anything is going on there. Figure out what their focus is these days. Have they just opened a new business unit? Are they focusing on customer satisfaction these days? Are they developing a new program in humanities? Whatever it is they're doing, you need to know about it, and you need to tie in how you can contribute in a way that's going to make an impact and make them successful in this new initiative. Final thing is, if you can figure out, maybe the person who's scheduling the interview for you can tell you who's going to be interviewing you. If you can research those people in advance, maybe you'll know a bit more about their background. Maybe you'll know about their interests. Maybe you'll have friends in common. So try to figure out, do some research on LinkedIn, if you can get those names of those interviewers, and see if you can prepare yourself as best as you possibly can to have a conversation with them. Okay, few last basics. The dress code. National dress or business formal unless otherwise noted. Okay, in this type of situation, you dress up rather than down. Okay, so err on the side of formal. You want shoes that are in good condition. You want to look like you're well put together. Your body language should be open. It should make you look like you're interested in what's being said. Don't turn your back to the interviewer. Look like you're engaged in the conversation. Okay? Your posture should be upright, and you should make eye contact with your interviewer to let them know that you really care about what they're saying. And finally, your tone of voice. You want an open tone of voice. You want to speak in a clear way. And you want to have an idea of the volume of your voice with respect to the size of the room. Okay? If it's a big office, maybe you need to speak a little bit more loudly than you usually do. So test that out. And you know, one thing you might want to do is you might even want to videotape yourself practicing. It sounds weird, but do it. Practice in the mirror. Practice with your phone. Play it back. Yes, I know it's difficult. It feels mortifying sometimes to watch yourself, but there's great value in it, and you're only going to improve through that practice. Which one? Dress code? It means what you wear. So in Saudi Arabia, typically, I'm going to guess it's your national dress. You'd be wearing a thobe to an interview. So it's just, you know, dressing for the interview you're going to. So unless it's otherwise noted, you're going to dress your best, as if you're going to an important event. Okay? So, and again, I mentioned shoes because you don't want to wear casual shoes to a professional interview. So national dress, nice shoes, just look well put together. Don't wear anything distracting, you know, and don't do anything. We as women tend to, you know, play with headscarves, play with hair, do things like this. Don't do that. Make it so that the interviewer is focused on what you have to say. Okay? Yes, absolutely. This is personal marketing. We're going to have to wrap it up now because our time is finished. We did have some content on behavioral interviews, and I hope one day to be able to share that with you. That's one of the styles of interviews and questions. But we're going to have to skip that for today. But what I would love to ask you to do is, this is a feedback form. We can have certificates printed up for you if you snap this QR code and if you can give us some feedback on the session. It was truly a pleasure to be here with you all today. And I hope there's something from this that you took away. Like I said, I have 20 years of experience, but I could practice these things every day and it would still be valuable to me. Okay, how's it going? Have we almost wrapped it up? Need more time? Or is everyone okay? You okay? Okay. Let's move on to tips for interviewing. Thank you again for sharing. That was really great. Okay, preparing for interviews. There are a number of things that you have to do before you go out for an interview. There's one thing I want you to remember, which is when you go out to an educational institution or a company or an organization, you need that institution to think that they are the only place you want to work in the world, right? They don't want to know that you just want a job. They want to know that you want to work there and why you want to work in that specific position. So what do you need to do to make it seem like that is the only place in the world where you would want to work? Well, the first thing is you need to research like crazy about that company. So get on the internet and find everything you can possibly find. Dig through their website, find out what they're doing. Know as much as you possibly can about their history and where they're planning to go in the future. The other thing you can do is you can ask around. You know, you have colleagues, you have classmates, you have maybe former instructors, you have friends, you have family. Ask everyone you know about that company and see if there's something going on that maybe you don't know about that would be relevant to your experience. In addition, you need to scour the news. Find out, is there something new going on at that company? Are they expanding a particular business line? What is happening at that company that you could connect with your skills and make it seem like it's the perfect match? Okay, I've been told we need to wrap it up very quickly. Can I finish this slide and do, okay. The last thing is, if you can figure out who's going to be interviewing you, if you can talk to the person who calls to schedule it, if you know who the interviewers, we still have 10 minutes. Okay, then I will slow down. Okay, that was a 10. That wasn't a finish. Okay, great. If you can figure out who's interviewing you, that's very valuable information because you can research them. You can look on LinkedIn and see maybe where they've worked before, what they're interested in. See if you have anything in common. See if you have common contacts, actually. So if there's any link between you and those individuals, it's good to figure that out in advance. So again, you really need to make it look like this is the only institution in the world that you want to work for, and this is why. And the way you make that clear to your interviewer is you do your homework. You do as much homework as you can before the interview. Okay, moving quickly on to how do you present yourself? Okay, the first thing is the dress code. Now, the dress code is always formal unless otherwise noted. So what that means is national dress. It means your best shoes. It means you go as your best personal self, okay? For ladies, you know, we tend to fiddle with things if we have accessories, if we have this, and men perhaps too. Don't wear anything complicated. Keep it simple, but nice, so you feel comfortable in the interview and you're showing the best version of yourself. In addition, the body language. You know, there are ways we appear that make us seem very closed off. You know, for instance, if you go into the interview and you're crossing your arms, you look like you don't want to be there, okay? If you turn your back to the interviewer, okay? If you slouch in your chair, these are all things we don't want to do. If you look at the floor, you know, we want to look like we are there and we are on and we are engaged, okay? The posture, you want to sit up straight, You want to make eye contact with your interviewer. You want to make sure this is an important thing. Your phone is off. Double, triple check that your phone's on silent. You want your interviewer to know that this is the only place you want to be right now, and you are completely, clued in. The other thing is that your tone of voice. So thinking about the size of the room and how you sound. If you have a very low voice, you may need to increase the volume so that you show that confidence. We just talked about confidence a second ago. And in an interview, you do want to show as much confidence as you can have. So practice that. If you know you have a quiet voice, practice it before the interview. Even video yourself and play it back. I mean, I know it feels sort of mortifying to hear yourself, to hear your own voice, but it's worth it because you will get better if you practice over and over again. Okay, so we still have just a couple minutes. Okay, we're going to very quickly, okay, wonderful. Very quickly cover a specific type of interview question. And this group here did it, I think, by accident. They covered this topic, which was great. So what a lot of companies will do is they will ask you to talk about a situation in your past where you solved a specific problem. So for instance, they might say to you, can you tell me about a specific time in your career where you had a difficult time with a colleague, and tell us how you solved that problem and you moved forward. Or tell me about a particular project for which you had an extremely tight deadline and how you were able to accomplish that and deliver the results that the company wanted. So these are what are called behavioral interview questions. So they're a little bit more complex than, why do you want the job? Why are you here today? So it's taking it a step beyond that. So you might want to think about what the valued traits are in the industry or the company you're applying to. I mean, what are they looking? Are they looking for self-confidence? Are they looking for someone who's great with analytics? What are the skills that they generally look for? And think about the questions they might ask, the skills they might be looking for you to demonstrate. There's a method for going about these behavioral interview questions, which is called the STAR method, which just really helps you break it down. So what you're going to look at first is you're going to look at the situation that you were in when you had this particular experience. So what was the situation? It was, you had a tight deadline, you had a project, you had to deliver something to a client. Describe that situation, and then talk about, the T is the who, what, when, where. What was required? What did you have to do to get through that situation? And very specifically talk about the action. So how did you handle that? How did you accomplish it? What was your action to take care of that and to accomplish that task? And finally, this is very important, what was the end result? What did you deliver in the end that proved that you handled this successfully? Okay. Now we have a very quick video. I'm hoping it will connect and work. Whoops. Let me see. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it's connecting to the internet. Do we have, I think we have internet in the room? IT team? No? No internet? Okay, we might have to skip that video. I suppose we'll skip it. Basically what the video is about is somebody who handles maybe I can connect to handles a behavioral interview question poorly and then is able to master it by using the STAR technique. So in the first example, someone could try to address the situation but not tell how they solved the issue. But what is really important is you wrap it up in the end, that you lay out the situation that you handled, and in the end, you tell how you were able to resolve it. So that is the key to the behavioral interview. That's it for today from me. Any questions? Anything you would like? Yes. Sure.
Just to understand, okay. Usually we talk in psychology about self-assertiveness. In Arabic توكيد الذات وهي شروط يعني your body language وقفتك your how to talk how to use your eyes it doesn't matter بصرف النظر كيف انه هي حتى كيف انه يدركها انت you have to be او to have self confidence it doesn't matter كيف هو ممكن يعني احنا ثقافتنا شويه مختلفه لكن it doesn't matter انت تراقب نفسك ما تراقب الاخر وحكمه قد يكون احيانا ذاتي بشكل مبالغ فيه. I'm sorry.
Is there a comment?
Yes, I have a question. So there is a common question that goes in the interviews that is, why do you want to leave your job or why did you quit your job? So how can we answer like this kind of questions? Thank you.
That is an excellent question, and it's a tricky one. My advice is to have a very short conversation about why you want to leave your job. Usually, the best reason is because you want to develop certain skills and there's not that opportunity to do that at your existing job. So you want to very quickly describe that and then move on to the next opportunity and say, I just got this degree, I've developed these skills, and I know at your company you are working on these projects and I think I could make a great impact on that. So I think you want to address it about leaving your company, but you want to tie it to opportunity and you want to really focus on the new company and why you think you can contribute to such an extent. If possible, my recommendation is you don't discuss salary in the first interview. So hold off a bit if you can. I agree with Dr. Hussein. You do need to broach that subject at some point. It's going to come up. But by the time you talk about the salary, you already want them to have you in their company so badly that you have more leverage, right? So if they don't know you yet and you bring up the salary first, they have really no incentive to have that conversation with you. So you need to sell yourself to a certain extent, but because, to a certain extent that they feel like they can't live without you in the company. And then you can do they? One technique is to do your research about specific positions in your industry and tell them that I would like the range, the acceptable range for this position, what is typical for this job. You can try to, I would advocate trying to keep it as vague as possible, but then if they still press you for a number, you should have those numbers. Have those in your back pocket, right? And you might want to give a number a little bit higher than you expect. Okay, it is totally finished now, I've been told. So we have to close. But we can have a private conversation because I think they want my mic. Okay. Thank you very much. This was a wonderful opportunity. Really appreciate spending the time with you. And wish you all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.